That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
No tears, please. It's a waste of good suffering.
Fairly alarmed here.
Welcome to Masters of the Nerdiverse Presents Random Select. That is also known as MOTN Presents Random Select, where we pick 8 random films and pit them against each other in deadly combat until only one shall survive. I'm, of course, your Xenomorph host, Mike G, and introducing as well, back with the show, of course, for this final chapter, Winter Trash Monk the Thizard.
Good evening.
Ooh, and Boris Karloff himself, Brian.
Yo, what up? Happy Halloween, everybody.
Boris Karloff.
You come out.
I feel like the Hunchback, bro. That's kind of what I feel like currently. So
yeah, Winter. What Universal era monster do you relate to?
Oh, I like Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest.
Frankenstein. I almost started listening to that audio book.
Mary Shelley's? Yeah, that's good stuff, man.
Yeah. I decided to listen to The Exorcist instead because
that'll work too.
Better,
and I love that movie. Great
does the power of Christ actually compel you, Doug?
Dude, that is a terrifying movie, bro.
Yeah. In retrospect, man.
He took one look and he's like, oh shit, it's out.
Yeah.
Game over, man.
Game over.
I was literally laying there. I was like, oh yeah, they don't mention that in the movie, but yeah, oh shit, it's the appropriate response.
Yes.
Now, there's what's the name of the movie? It's in The Exorcist. It's like a prequel. There's 2 different cuts.
Yeah, Exorcist, dang it, Dominion and Exorcist the Beginning. Yep.
Yes.
Which one do you like the most?
I want to say
beginning.
The beginning.
I
want to say the beginning. Is that with
It's the same actor. It's the dude from the Thor movies. He's a Skarsgård.
Yes.
Alexander.
The beginning.
Yeah,
the
the
beginning was better.
Yeah, the beginning was better.
Well, I think they're Dominion and the beginning are the same movie. They're just edited differently, right?
No, they're directed differently. It's completely 2 differently shot films.
Okay.
They shot beginning first, and then they scrapped the entire movie. Production was done, and they doubled back and then directed beginning from the absolute beginning. Funny enough, a couple of different actors, different villain at the end. It's super weird what happened with the production of that movie.
Yeah, the beginning. Yeah, well, it's a Paul Schrader. Wait, no.
You mean the guy from what?
Yeah, so I guess I'm a fan of Dominion then, because Dominion's so Exorcist the Beginning was retooled from Paul Schrader's already completed Dominion prequel to The Exorcist.
Yeah, the beginning is the one with the Nazi Germany like angle to it.
Yes, dude, and I say this all the time. You can catch me walking around the streets, and I'll be like, what are you, praying?
Yeah.
Praying? There's no God here today, priest.
There's no God today, priest. And he just shoots the child in the face.
Just say that around town, huh?
I'm just literally walking down the street, and that's what's going through my head, because some things, life is hard, bro.
You need to tell that person on the bus stop to get it together, though.
And you're like, yo, man, there is no God here today.
Yeah.
You're looking out for yourself.
Dude,
this is what it is, but that's a great movie.
I think so. You're talking. That's the start of Dominion, though. Dominion starts off with the SS. Exorcist: The Beginning starts off with the opening of the priest walking through an ancient battlefield with a bunch of dead soldiers.
Am I mixing up the names?
I am looking at the Dominion.
Dominion.
No, I'm thinking of Beginning, because that's the one with. Yes, that's the one that's in, like, I was gonna say Saudi Arabia, but they're all in Saudi Arabia.
Right.
It's all Saudi Arabia.
All right, we're gonna pick this up at a later.
All right, we're gonna. This is a whole different podcast.
Or Dominion, bro?
I'm gonna go watch all 3.
This is another MOTN reviews. in the
I
making.
can't wait. I'm so stoked.
You gotta watch Exorcist 2, The Heretic, Doug.
Oh, dude, I'll watch all of them. They're all fantastic.
Speaking of things we've watched, we're in the finals, dude. We're
Finals!
we're
Yeah,
in the
bro.
finals, man. After
Speaking of finals,
yeah.
Did anyone see the Clippers in those beginning finals yesterday?
You know what? You know what?
Are the Golden State Warriors still a thing?
So is it the San Francisco 40 Warriors?
40 Warriors, buddy.
I'll cut you over the mic.
where the mascot is just a big old like bottle of King Cobra?
No, the mascot is just
The 40 Warriors, Doug?
my butler giving me wine and cheese.
Okay, Ozymandias. So
right,
we have
I'm sorry.
we have two films that we're talking about today. One is Stephen King, George Romero's Creepshow, and the other one is the 1954 classic. I may be wrong on that date. The Thing from Another World.
51.
51. No, 54 was Them, which got taken out by another film. But Winter, why don't you hit us up with a quick synopsis of The Thing from Another World?
Scientists at an Arctic research station discover a spacecraft buried in the ice. Upon closer examination, they discover the frozen pilot. All hell breaks loose when they take him back to their station, and he's accidentally thawed out. Starring Margaret Sheridan, Kenneth Tobey, and Robert Cornthwaite and Douglas Spencer in the thriller The Thing from Another World.
Look at his
Brought to you by
voiceover champion.
Chesterfield cigarettes.
Oh, dude, you just jacked it up.
I
You were
don't
nailing
think we
the
can do
interview.
cigarettes anymore, bro.
Dude.
Anyway, go on.
Chesterfield vape machine. Dude.
Native spirit chewing tobacco.
That's
Jeez.
funny.
You were nailing the interview and just cut a fart at the very end where you were shaking hands. Dude.
I'm sorry. And James Arness as
And
the
James,
singer.
I can't follow that up. Creepshow 1982, an anthology which tells 5 terrifying tales based on the EC Comics horror books from the 1950s, starring Hal Holbrook, the Barbeau Zone herself, Adrienne Barbeau, Fritz Weaver, and Leslie Nielsen, and Ted Danson, and E.G. Marshall, and Ed Harris.
Ted Danson is still making good television, man. That dude's super
He's a
talented.
boss.
Good Place.
Seriously, great show.
He's never faltered, dude. Start calling him the Silver Fox, dog.
Right, Silver Fox.
He's the Silver Fox, dog. So, these two films somehow fought through the gauntlet and ended up in these finals.
I would never have guessed that this is where this would have ended up. I'm not sure what my picks would have been, but I surely wouldn't have thought it would have been something from 51 and Creepshow.
Brian, why do you think a movie like Creepshow made it this far?
You know, I've been thinking about this, and I think the thing about Creepshow is the thing about Thing from Another World. It's contained in its own story. And since Creepshow has a variety of stories, it reaches across a variety of different taste preferences, things of that nature. So I think that it stands the test of time. And I'm glad you brought that question up, sir, because I have a question for you and the audience once this is all over.
Absolutely. So, Winter, why do you think a film like Creepshow made it this far?
Well, Creepshow has like so many things working for it. You have George Romero, bada bing, boom, in
Bam.
there.
Boom.
You have Stephen King. I believe most of the stories are based on things he wrote
He is
in
the king.
short stories. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have that mixed match of like drawing from different horror worlds combined into this. You also have that whatever like special effects issues that it has because of the date it was created when it was made, it is like washed over because people just go, well, it's going for like a cheesy or like the comic book look.
Yeah.
Like the campy or like golden era of comics or whatever era it was. So that's watched over. Where for The Thing, you have to, in some instances, you have to kind of like go like, I'm watching an historical film.
Yeah, I definitely get that, and they both kind of shine that way. You made a very good point about why Creepshow lasted this long, and I think a lot of it is its effects, and it's kind of the same thing where Super Mario Brothers will always look good, right? Like
the movie?
No, the video game. The movie will always look bad. Like 16-bit graphics will always look good, right? You know, Super Metroid always has that classic that just stands up. But if you look at something like Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation, as good a game as it is, those polygons don't age well at all. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a certain, because of the artistic style, making it look like a comic book with those hard neon glow lights against the practical effects. It just looks good. Right. You know, and this is a film you can watch over and over again. You can show it to people who've never seen it, and their complaint is, oh, that looks fake. They're just like, oh, wow, that's crazy, right? I think it also, the reason it made it this far, like Brian mentioned, is that it has, because of the way the story is structured, it's like it's like passing tales along a campfire, isn't it? It's everybody having a turn, trying to out scare each other, you know, sitting around the fire, and these stories just interlock and flow with each other so well that there's not a let up of tension. There's always that it's funny, it's scary, it's cool, and it just keeps rotating that baker's mix until you reach the end of the film and you're just like exhausted. So I think those two are very good points. So Brian, why do you think Thing from Another World made it this far?
It's terrifying. I think when you get down to the bottom of it, I think about that movie now, and I think about if that movie, pardon me, if that movie were shown on the big screen right now, I think that you would have quite a few terrified people, and you wouldn't take your kids to it. And it really is kind of like Alien, man. Like it's sci-fi, terrifying type. So I was a big fan of it.
Absolutely, definitely. Very good point. It is absolutely just overall fills you with a sense of anxiety and dread that some could say as yet to be rivaled in that particular type of film. Winter, why do you think Thing from Another Planet made it this far?
Well, partially it's because I campaigned for it in a previous episode of this.
Yeah, I think you own stock in this film, dude.
Yes. It is, like I've said every time, if we were going to open up a film school of horror movies, this would be a prerequisite, or like something you would watch to prepare yourself for the something you would get for extra credit for watching the
I would totally watch this for extra credit.
Right.
Super would.
Yes. And
Man,
yeah, because it is it's a classic monster, it's sci-fi horror sort of thing. It's also, there's interesting to look into how this would, like, what's his name? James Cameron, right?
Mm-hmm. John Carpenter.
John Carpenter, yeah, James Cameron. James Cameron based the Titanic off of this. Yeah, John Carpenter made his remake of this, and I think it'd be interesting to see how the most recent Thing, which is supposed to be a prequel of John Carpenter's Thing, if we all remember that.
Yeah.
I remember wanting to see that, and I don't think I ever heard about it again.
You want to know a quick story about that movie? Is that originally for that prequel and remake, all the effects in that movie were practical. Mm-hmm. Like literally spent thousands of dollars getting the effects right with animatronics and puppeteers, and it looked great. It looked really good. They screened it, and the audience said, "That looks weird. Why doesn't it look like a computer?" So they scrapped all of the practical effects. Every single practical effect was scrapped and replaced with digital. Wow. Because like two like millennial like screenings was like, this looks weird. You know, why does it look like that? Does it look like graphics?
That is a terrible story.
It's the worst. So it just it carpet bombed that movie. Not to say that the plot was
Mike G
anything.
was one of those people.
It was me. I was in the back drinking them out and doing on my phone, and I looked up and said, "That looks dumb."
Yeah.
know?
So again,
yeah.
it's the thing from another world is kind of like it's a time capsule of like you want to see what sci-fi horror was at this particular time. Here you go.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, man. This beat out some pretty heavy hitters. I know you guys weren't too fond of Night of the Creeps. Night of the Creeps got my vote out of
Stop
pure
bringing
nostalgia.
it up.
I will never stop. It's part of my golden 5 movies I will bring up until I die. It's Night of the Creeps, and one of the others is Carnosaur. I will never shut up about Carnosaur. Anyway, the best. But it beat out that movie, and in retrospect, Night of the Creeps wouldn't have made it this far. So we may have lost a gem in my blind nostalgia. But this movie does something that a lot of the other movies didn't, which was it created a sense of dread, of constants, like Brian mentioned before in previous random selects. The thing just keeps coming. It's inside and it's outside and it's back inside. They're constantly open
and they
doors.
can't go outside. Like it's just like me.
It's a tundra. You can't go outside.
Me coming from a cold weathered area, it's hey man, you don't want to go out there. Even if you could, you're like, can we?
You don't want to go out there.
No. Go onto that road.
Yeah.
So you're stuck. There's no help isn't coming. You're in the middle of nowhere. There's this creature that's 8 feet tall, punching through doors and stuff. And he's just around, dog. And wants to eat your face. So it's always a sense of dread. Once again, I loved the scientist character, and I just think that there's a lot of character development, there's a lot of story development, and it just was a cut above a lot of its competition. Brian, did you want to broach your question before we get into the meat and potatoes of this fight?
No. Sure.
Or you want to wait till later? It's up to you.
No, I'll broach it.
Yeah.
We have The Omen, Creepshow, Nightbreed, Silver Bullet, Night of the Creeps, Thing from Another World, Reanimator, and Them.
Yep.
If you could pick one of these movies to be remade today, which would it?
I gotta look at this list.
Repeat those.
Yeah.
The Omen,
The Omen,
Creepshow,
Nightbreed,
Silver Bullet,
Silver Bullet,
Night of the Creeps, Thing from Another World, Reanimator.
I would like to go first.
What about ants? Did we have ants on there?
Them, yeah.
Them.
So
Okay.
let's go through this list and talk about the films that have already been remade, right?
Yes.
The Omen has been remade, right? Horrible remake.
And TV show. And
TV
a TV
show.
show.
Oh, geez. Creepshow, currently a TV show.
It is?
Yeah, it's on Shudder.
Oh, that's why I haven't heard of it.
Nightbreed, not been remade. Silver Bullet, it's never been remade. Night of the Creeps, never been remade. Thing from Another World, that's self-explanatory, has been remade by John Carpenter to excellent fashion. There's been sequels of Reanimator, but no remake. And Them, from my knowledge, has not been remade. So, with the pick of the litter, out of these films, I want to go with Nightbreed as the one film I would love to see in some new fashion. I think with a new coat of paint, some new practical effects by the people who helped Guillermo del Toro. I would love to see Doug Jones in a costume or two. You know what I'm saying? Let it be written and directed by David Cronenberg, because he has a connection with these films. That is like the fantastical. I'm not really big into creating, Marvel slate type of expanded universes, but I would love to see a good horror interconnected universe and let Midian kind of be that playground for different directors. I would love to see a James Wan version of Nightbreed. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
You know what I'm saying?
That. Yeah.
It's super crazy. Like, I would love to see different directors.
Nightbreed's getting a TV show, by the way.
Yeah, but it's not out yet. So I'm not counting it until it's real, until I see a trailer. So I would love. My choice would be Nightbreed. I think that would be the coolest thing. Mm-hmm.
Winter?
Wow. Well, yeah, I like the idea. I would give Nightbreed a second chance, because here's why.
Mm-hmm.
Get Netflix involved with it.
Yeah.
Instead of making it a movie, because the book itself is like, it's supposed to be like a bunch of stories told by different people's point POVs, sort of thing. You know, like a Sin City type scenario. You know what I'm saying?
Scenario.
So I could see like each like doing multiple seasons of Nightbreed, but each season is a different character.
Yeah. You could easily do that. Like one cool
Have
thing.
David Lynch be the director.
Yeah, I mean, I could absolutely see something like that working. There you go.
Are you guys aware of a Stephen King movie called Lord of not Stephen King, I'm sorry, Clive Barker movie called Lord of Illusions?
Yeah.
With Scott Bakula?
Yeah.
The character that Scott Bakula plays.
Can I ruin your... Is that supposed to be Constantine?
No.
Okay.
That's a different guy. His name is forget the name of the actual Harry something.
Harry Dresden from the Dresden Files.
Pretty close. That character actually interacts with Pinhead in the Hellbound Heart. So there's already kind of a Clive Barker verse that Clive has created for himself. So you can even in a Midian TV show introduce Cenobites.
If they're listening, it might get picked up. You might get your wish. That's a good idea.
Like there's medians walking around in a bar, and then they bump into like, oh, sorry, my pins. And then,
unfortunately, I don't want to see a remake of Nightbreed, which sounds cool. Your version does sound really good. What fun fact about me, and we'll get back to the fighting here very quickly, is I like those like devastation movies, big tornado movies. You know, things like The Day After Tomorrow and Godzilla, and you know, just Earth gets destroyed.
Yeah.
I want to see them remade, written and directed by good Roland Emmerich.
Oh, geez,
that did Independence Day. Like the first Independence Day, not research. I don't want that one. I want this good Roland Emmerich, giant ants taking over the world and pods like everywhere.
You may not get that one. You may get like Geostorm Roland Emmerich, dog.
I'm actually okay with that. I like those big movies, so that's fine.
Hello, ants.
It'll be good enough. As long as it's not San Andreas, I'm good with it.
Are you okay with the idea that there's a 98% chance they're just all going to be CG?
Yeah. You know, yes. When I saw the list, I thought about this. I saw the movie, and I was like, yes, I want to see this again. I get it. I understand it. But when in history have we seen giant ants taking over the television screen?
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
Amazingly awesome.
Right.
Shrunk the Kids rules, dude.
I would need to see, like, they kind of update the story where there's actually a corporation trying to take the DNA from an ant and put it into a human being.
Hey, look, you can direct park it the way, however you want to. Like, it's a remake. Like, look, there's no book. If there was, we're not pulling from the right one.
And Dominus Ant. You know, I like it.
Which one would you guys like to see remade?
Actually, this would be a good final poll of the week. Our random select edition. So we'll leave that to the end of the episode, kind of how that's going to work. I have to think about it for a second, but I think there's going to be a way we can make that work.
Back to the fighting.
With that, let's take off these gloves and really get down to the
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, man, Rick Moranis.
They did that already.
They tried. They failed. Winter, I have to ask you one simple question.
Yeah?
Who do you got?
Folks, this was a tough one.
Oh, we forgot to write down our answers.
I like it that we don't write it down. It makes it spontaneous.
All right.
Hashtag hard cuts, man.
Yeah, so my mind goes back and forth of like for posterity.
Yeah.
For some reason that word comes to mind.
That's fine.
I have to choose a movie that is both someone's alarm's going off. So that is important for the annals of time to be known as classic horror. It is also a movie that I would not be afraid to put on the TV during Halloween at a friend's house or a girlfriend's house. And that is none other than Creepshow, ladies and gentlemen.
Ding, ding. Punch.
I like it.
Yeah.
Crunch, crunch.
Crunch,
You try
crunch.
to put on a thing from another world.
And see if it keeps people's attention, man. Oh, Brian, who do you got, man?
Oh, for the love of God. I'm a little torn because they're both contained. They're both special. I mean, the thing Creepshow has going forward is that there's more of Creepshow.
Yeah.
But that notwithstanding, on the basis of an 8-foot tall monster that just keeps coming at you, like in a fist fight, the thing would beat the living crap out of Creepshow. And you know what? I can put on the thing from another world every single Halloween, and I can feel good about, hey, this is a good horror movie right after we watch The Exorcist.
So who do you got?
I said the thing from another world.
Think for another world, man. Sorry, my brain was just thinking about literally the Stephen King plant character getting exploded by the thing from another world.
So good.
Gosh darn it.
Dude, I mean, and
Hyper combo finish.
Yeah.
So what are you going to choose, my dude?
You guys are going to make me split it, huh? So
Absolutely.
all right, it comes down to this, ladies and gentlemen. Think from another world. Classic. 100% classic. Birthed one of the best remakes, may be the best remake of all time. Beautifully acted, beautifully shot, black and white, a relenting force, isolation, character development, soundtrack, full burn fire scenes. It's a blast to watch. And it's something that you can put on and people can take something from. Very high marks, and it's an amazing film. Creepshow. You can't have more fun watching an anthology film. By far the best anthology film ever made. George Romero, Stephen King, Tasmanian Devils in Crates, Leslie Nielsen being one of the best bad guys I've ever seen as a kid. Cockroaches exploding out of people's faces. Technicolor Dayglow. Ted Danson being mad all the time because he's stuck in a situation. Creepshow is one of the very first horror movies I ever saw that I kind of grasped what was going on, and so it has a heavy nostalgia factor with me that Thing from Another World does not. That being said, who do I pick? Being the tiebreaker, making the choice.
I'm chomping at the bit here.
It's Creepshow. It's Creepshow. It's Creepshow. It's Creepshow, and this is a microscopic choice. If any of you just talk more, you'll probably sway my decision. Creepshow barely makes it out because for Thing from Another World's beauty and its tenseness and its scariness and its unrelenting force.
You meet...
Things from Another World. Did I say Creepshow? I'm sorry. Creepshow is just perfection. It's horror. It's schlock horror movie perfection. It knows what it wants to do. It doesn't hold punches. It leans into it better than any other movie kind of in that same genre without being hokey. You know what I mean? Creepshow was one of those movies where people ran out of the theater screaming. There's one of the earliest stories my mom told me is like my mom saw Creepshow in the theater with her sisters, and they saw it in L.A. And the scene where the cockroaches exploded out that old dude's chest, my aunt screamed, threw her popcorn in the air, and ran out the theater. I had to go find her in L.A. She just ran into a coffee shop and was just freaking out. This is a story my mom told me years ago, and that stuck with me. Because those were real cockroaches. That wasn't an effect. They went to Guatemala. And this is a story that the special effects artist on it. So he said, "This is what we did. We went to Guatemala and we went into a guano cave, and they stuck their arm in a mountain of guano, of bat
Yeah,
shit.
you did.
And they dug a hole and they shined a light on it and then took it away. And by the time they put the light back on it, the hole was filled to burst with cockroaches. So they bagged up all these cockroaches, maybe like 50 pounds worth of cockroaches, if that makes sense. And they took them to set, and to shoot the shot, they said action, and they let them go. And by the time the scene was over, they all disappeared. They went into phones. They went into the camera shot, the camera crew. They went into they went to the cameras.
Whose idea was that?
The worst idea ever. They had to
Whose idea was this?
The production company was so mad because they had to throw the entire set away. They had to fumigate the entire set because these cockroaches just disappeared. And everyone was like, "What just happened?" They're everywhere.
More cockroaches.
We need more cockroaches. You got to shake everything out. They're running up people's pants legs. They're jumping in people's coffee. They were everywhere. Yeah. Thousands upon thousands of cockroaches disappeared in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Insane, dude.
Well, I mean, on that note, it doesn't get any more scary, frightening than a freaking
crawling down into your glasses, dude.
Creepshow is our winner in a 10 round, 12 round bout. It was
so close. Like if any of you would have said anything different, Thing would have won. But I'm gonna stick to my guns here. Creepshow is the quintessential. It's the best horror movie out of this group. If this group was any different, Creepshow may have not made it. If Exorcist was on this group, Creepshow would have made it.
Creepshow would not have made it had Exorcist. Exorcist is one of the best.
If The Shining was on this group,
but that's not what we're here for.
That's what we're here for.
For Creepshow, the battle
of the random select.
It's been fun. So, what do you folks think? Was Creepshow your winner? What is your Halloween movie now?
What is your Halloween movie?
Will you watch with your family? And last, what would you see remade?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take our top 4, and I'm going to ask you, the Nerdiverse, which of these 4 films you want to see remade. And you can vote to let us know out of our semifinalists which of these films you want to see remade. And also, I'm going to give you a bonus poll to let you choose who wins, Thing from Another World or Creepshow. So we're going to have double polls when this comes out. So please vote at @MNerdiverse and let us know what you think. Did we get it right? Did we get it wrong? I can't wait to hear from you. This has been a pleasure, guys. This has been
Thanks for having me.
You got it, man.
It's been a fantastic Halloween random adventure.
Here at MOTN, I always like to do something for this time of year. It's my favorite time of year, and I'm happy I got to do it with my best friends. So this is like the best thing ever. So next year will be something different probably, but we're going to just keep it rolling. This year, I hope you enjoyed this Halloween special for MOTN Random Select. There will be future Random Selects for absolutely random movies that we're going to be talking about and having a good time. But for this horror edition, I would like to thank you for listening. If you'd like to support this podcast monetarily, you can always join our Patreon at patreon.com/MOTN. And if you wanted to support us non-monetarily, you can always like our posts, which you can find on any of our social media outlets, comment on our episodes, which you can find at any of your podcast outlets. We just joined Podcast Addict, which is new for Android users. So if you're listening to us that way, welcome. And subscribe. Please subscribe to our YouTube. We're going to be doing more stuff for YouTube in the future. Maybe even some Let's Plays if I can get my internet to act right. I once again want to thank Winter Trash Month III and Brian for joining me on this journey. Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
And I want to
thank the end of our journey.
We have reached the end of our journey for now.
Cue in lightning. And back to Mike.
And back to me. And we will always ask you to look towards the skies. Look towards those skis.